Welcome back to Epic Exchanges here on our YouTube channel. And finally, after searching for another children's book author, I am pleased to welcome Vie Portland, who is going to share her book. But first, Vie, welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
So, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be invited. I live on the south coast of the UK, in between Southampton and Winchester, so right in the middle of the bottom. I All of my work, whether that's my coaching, my workshops, my books, are all to help people realize how great they are and to help them find their fabulous. So, I work with children as young as 3, sometimes younger if I'm running a Find Your Fabulous workshop, which is based on the book I'll read for you today, right up to women of all ages, and yeah, help them. We're all too hard on ourselves. So to help people see that they are brilliant and we've all got so much more in common than we think, and our differences aren't really that important.
So true. I love that Find Your Fabulous because I think we all need some of that.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
true that we are our own worst critics,
Yep.
always. And we say things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to an enemy, let
Yep.
alone our best friend or someone we should
Absolutely.
love.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
excited for you to share your book. So why don't we just dive right in?
Lovely. Well, I've got 2 children's books, but I'm going to read you the second one. But I thought I'd show you the cover of the first one because I do just love the cover. So this is when Emily and her mum go on a rainbow sea in a boat full of bubbles. Uh, but I love the illustration. But I
Yeah.
thought I'd read this one. This is Who Am I? And it features the same characters. Uh, and I will, oh, there goes my bookmark. I will try and show you all the pictures as we go. That's
Okay.
just the inside cover with a fabulous dragon. Can you see it? Is that close enough for you?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mummy, who am I? You are the brave child who flies dragons to faraway castles. Mummy, who am I? You are the kind child who helps sloths cross the roads to reach their trees. Mummy, who am I? You are the adventurous child who swims with mermaids and octopuses. Mummy, who am I? You are the fun child who dances with dinosaurs on the beach. Mummy, who am I? You are the clever child who reads stories to orangutans. Mummy, who am I? You are the gentle child who sings lullabies to baby birds. Mummy, who am I? You are the loving child who believes it's who we are and what we do that matters. Mummy, who am I? You are you, and I am me, and we are wonderful just as we are. Good night, darling child. thank you for being just the way you are. There you
I
go.
love that. Thank you. The illustrations are amazing, and I have to ask just right
They're
off
amazing.
the bat, do you use the same illustrator for all your books?
I do for the Emily book, so I call the main character Emily, although I don't ever name her because I think it's nice for children to name them themselves. But yeah, a friend of mine is a very talented artist, and she does the Emily illustrations for me. Uh,
They're
yeah,
beautiful watercolor
yeah,
pieces that, yeah,
yeah,
they,
yeah. She's done a great job of interpreting my brain and putting it on paper. So yeah, I'm very pleased with what she did. They're beautiful.
that's fantastic. So, tell me why you choose the format of a children's book to share your stories.
I've I was a nanny for years and I've worked in schools and I now work with children in schools in a different way, but I still spend a lot of time with children, and with this book I run Find Your Fabulous sessions based on that book where children can think about all the great things they are. And I think with my work with women and with young people, it's so apparent. And from my own experience, before I worked on who I am, so many self esteem issues start at a young age. And it's from the age of 3 that children start making judgments about bodies, theirs and other people's. So with the picture books, I think it's such a wonderful age because they're curious and they're willing to learn and they haven't picked up on a lot of the bigoted ideas that there can be in society. So it's a great way to help them see, again, that we've all got so much more in common, and that it's so. Did you notice anything about Emily?
So what I noticed from, I think, the third Mummy, Who Am I question was that none of the answers focused on appearance, that it was
Yeah,
all characteristics and qualities, which I think is so important in this day and age where so much of the time we judge ourselves based on what we see people putting out there into the world.
yeah,
And they can often be photoshopped or these days filtered because you
yeah,
can make yourself look younger, older, like a doll, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
and and I love that there was not one thing focused on appearance. And I have had friends and family members who are parents that never wanted it to be, oh, you're so pretty. Well, you're smart, you're kind, you have all these other qualities. So I really noticed
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that was another reason. I've worked with so many families who will say to me, "Oh, I'm always telling her she's beautiful, but she's getting thinner and thinner and thinner." And I'm like, "Well, have you told her that she does great hugs, or she makes the best cup of tea, or that she brightens up your world?" Because people are so focused on this meat package that we walk around in, whereas there's far more to us. I mean, if you think about any of the people in your life, do you love them because of what they look like?
Exactly.
And we
No.
don't, do we? But we focus on that in ourselves. Uh,
Mhm.
but the other thing that with Emily, and I love it, and this on this page, it's the most obvious, and people still don't notice it because they're engaged with the story. See if I can get it up so you can see her. Put that
Yeah.
there. So she has a limb difference. Uh,
Ah,
the rest of the book, she's wearing a prosthetic limb.
okay.
But part of that was again because there's studies that show that children won't make friends with other children if they look different, and that could be size, shape, disability, or disfigurement. And it's obvious why, really, because we don't, the most common character in a book is still a white boy.
Mhm.
There's more animals, monsters, and aliens than there are girls in stories.
Mm.
But also on TV, we don't see a character with a disability generally unless the program's about that disability. So I wanted to. I'm a disabled person. My disabilities are hidden, and I wanted there to share a story to show that I don't mention it at all until the last page when I have 10 or 12 questions, and then I mention it. Did you notice that Emily has a prosthetic limb?
Mm.
Because I want people to see again, of course, we'd all love to sit in a tree and read stories to orangutans, wouldn't we? Or dance with dinosaurs on a beach. And that's what's important. It doesn't matter that she has a disability. And that's why I put the questions in the back, partly so that teachers have a lesson plan if they need it, but so that adults can ask the children and they can talk about it. And yeah, it's just really important to me that we help change the statistics, because only something like 4% of books have a main character with a disability in, but also most of the characters are in wheelchairs. Yet only 8% of the global population that are disabled use a wheelchair.
Mm.
So I wanted to sort of show that there's lots of different ways that we can be disabled, lots of different ways we can be human, but that there are lots of ways that we're all very much alike. Um, and yeah, I hope that comes across in the story, that people see that.
Yeah, I love that. And it's part of my work with people, helping them recognize that their story matters, because the more that we share our stories, I believe the more we discover that we are more alike than we are different.
Yeah,
This world today seems so divided by race, gender, political views, religion, whatever you have. It could
yeah,
be financial status, all of those things. There's so much things that divide us. But when we sit in a room with a group of people and we share our stories and we're open and honest, we find that those things that we saw that divided us before might be 1 in 100.
yeah,
And so why do we ignore the 99 that make us alike and the same and similar and could make
yeah,
us the best of friends?
absolutely. And I love that with both the children's books, I've had children who don't have a limb difference but have a different disability adore her, because it's like that's the first time I've seen someone like me. And with my book for adults, that's my story, and I have had, sadly, wonderful that they feel safe to contact me, but lots of other people going, I had that happen to me too, and I didn't know anyone else had gone through it. So our stories, like you say, are so important, because if we share them, we realize that we're not so alone, that we're, again, another commonality between us. And that's really important too.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy for us to feel alone in our challenges and difficulties,
Yeah,
whatever they may be, whether they're visible or not, because we don't have enough representation out there, no
yeah,
matter what it is. And representation matters. And it's so
yeah,
interesting because in the past week, I've had this conversation more times than ever in various situations, in board situations, because there's a lot of older white gentlemen that are on boards, whether
yeah,
they be for companies, corporations, nonprofits, foundations, whatever that might be. And people are starting to notice, organizations are starting to notice that they need to have different voices so
yeah,
that even the people that they help, say it's a nonprofit, sees themselves represented by a decision maker, by someone
yeah,
that can have their back and speak up for them.
yeah,
And often when people don't see that, they think that they're not able to speak up. And
yeah,
so yeah, it's been just interesting. Obviously, this is something I really need to pay attention to.
yeah. It's a huge thing in my life. There's a statistic that says that there are more men called Dave or John or something as CEOs in the world than there are women. And that's quite scary, isn't it?
Mm,
And then that's before you consider people of color, people with disabilities, people with gender differences, or anything like that. There are more men called Dave that make decisions in the world than there are all of us others that aren't called Dave and that aren't, you know, men or whatever. So it really does matter. And yeah, helping people see that we're all equally valid. We just need to get the rest of the world to catch up and let them see that we've all got an important voice and we all deserve to share it.
Exactly. And if we have the opportunity, we lift up all the different voices.
Yeah,
Um, and so it's promoting different voices through books, through music, through,
yeah,
if we're in media, through the stories that we share in any way, or like television programs, all of that. Because the more that whoever we are, we see ourselves represented, the more we'll feel comfortable stepping up.
absolutely. Yeah, without doubt. And it's it is wonderful that things are changing, but it's also sad that it's taken until now for those things to change. But the fact that that you and I are, 10, 11 hours apart in the world, and yet we've both got similar goals. And that's Frida Kahlo, who, as you've probably told by guessed by the fact that I'm drinking out of a Frida Kahlo mug, is one of my favorite ever people. And I'm going to paraphrase greatly, but she said that she used to feel that she was the only weird person in the world, but then she realized that there must be other weird people who also felt they were the only weird person in the world and that they should all come together. And yeah, I think that really matters, to help people feel that they're not alone, whether that's because of a disability or because of their life experiences or whatever, just to know that it's okay, to be that. They don't have to be someone that they're not to fit in, or not
Yeah.
fit in if that's what they want to do. You know.
Just to be who they are.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's interesting because I think that we all think we are somewhat weird in
yeah,
our own unique ways.
yeah, 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 definitely. And isn't that wonderful? That you can talk to. I think I could probably say for almost anyone I talk to that all of us would say it's very rare we meet someone where we don't think, oh, even if they're really dull or they're not very communicative, there's always something that you think, well, that was interesting. Um, and that's
Mhm.
great,
Yeah.
that there is that.
So I think we've probably covered this in our discussion. I have to say, one of the things I love about featuring children's book authors on the podcast is that the conversation always goes somewhere unexpected and is way deeper than
Yep,
just, I don't want to say just the children's book, but when you think about children's books, we don't think about deep conversations and big concepts, but I love the surprising conversations. But
yeah.
one thing I love to ask children's book authors in particular, or anybody on the podcast, if listeners could have one takeaway from our conversation, what do you hope that is?
It would be to, I I passed yesterday. I found out yesterday. I've written this course to do a train the trainer, and there I use some statistics. And in it, the course has been written for teachers and teaching staff. And the, I ask questions about, what representation of the children in your school are not white, who are disabled, who are single parent families, who are carers of adults, and how many of your books and how many of what you do in the classroom represents that. And so I think I have had, and it's so frustrating, people say to me, oh, I've got a grandson, but he won't be interested because it's a girl. And it's like, well, girls have been growing up with boys characters forever. So to be open minded and for boys to see a girl, for black children, for white children to see black children as main characters, that will all help to make everyone more accepting of everybody else. But like I said, with the children not making friends with people that look different, they can't see them, can they? They're not being represented. Whereas if that child with a disability is in your favorite book, then that's a step closer to us all being more cohesive. And it was lovely. A friend of mine is a tutor, and wonderfully, she was working with this young girl who I don't know. So it's always exciting when someone you don't know has got your book, isn't it? And but she asked them the questions in the back. And one of them is about, how would you feel if there was someone with a disability in your class? And should I'd feel awkward because I wouldn't know what to do? There's a girl in the school who's in a wheelchair and I love running and she can't run, so I don't know what I can play with her. And so you said about the deep conversations that we get, but that children are capable of so many more deep conversations than we expect. And giving them books like this that have representation of a marginalized person and a marginalized category of humans helps them see, that we might not be able to run with everybody, but we can sing or we can dance or we can do so many other things that brighten our world still. So, yeah,
Yeah, such a good message for children and adults alike. I think we can all use a little bit of that advice.
yeah, yeah.
So how can people find your book, all your books,
Yeah,
connect with you and your programs?
yeah, so I've got my website, which is www.vieness, which is spelled vieness.co.uk. But the books are, I'm very proud to say, my books are on every continent in the world. It might only be one book, but there's a book on every continent. So they can be bought from Amazon, because obviously Amazon sell everything, but they can also be bought in Barnes and Noble, I think is more prolific over there, isn't it? But in most online bookstores, they can be bought.
Okay, well, we will be sure to add your links that you've provided us to our show notes
Thank you.
and on our social media platforms so people can easily find you. They don't have to go back and rewind and, oh, I missed that, or did I spell it
Yep.
wrong, or whatever. So people will be able to find you that way. And I am so thankful to have had you here with us. I
Thank
love
you.
this conversation. I am excited about your books. I can't wait to buy them for people that I know with kids. It gives me an
Wonderful.
excuse. Like when I used to
Yeah.
take the kids, I babysat and my nieces and nephews to all the kids' movies because I wanted to see them.
Yeah. I'm just a really good surrogate aunt wanting to take them. Yeah, nothing to do with me wanting to sit through the latest Disney.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
been there.
thank you. Thank you, V, for being here. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
books
you.
and for your bigger hope for the world to connect more and see each other as we truly are.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really, really lovely. I loved it. Thank you.